We want to look at monetary and fiscal policy in different exchange rate regimes in the Mundell-Fleming model. So we're going to start off talking about a flexible exchange rate regime where the nominal exchange rate is determined by demand and supply of a country's currency in the foreign exchange market, and the central bank allows the exchange rate to adjust in response to demand and supply changes. So it's not the central bank is not fixing the exchange rate in this case; it's allowing it to freely adjust. So let's discuss monetary policy under such a flexible exchange rate regime. Now, in an open economy, there are two channels which expansionary monetary policy affects Y instead of the usual one. Here's just something to keep in mind is that in the text, the assumption is that the central bank is targeting the interest rate. So expansionary monetary policy is defined as a decrease in domestic interest rate I. Although we know this change in interest rate is achieved through changes in money supply, but we're assuming the central bank in this case targets the interest rate and adjust the money supply in order to achieve that target interest rate. So now we know, okay, when we were talking about a closed economy, and that we already know, the way the expansion monetary policy affects Y is through the direct negative effect of interest rate on investment, where we know where interest rate decreases. Here we know I represents both real and nominal interest rate because in our Mundell-Fleming model in the text, we're making some assumptions where we assume the domestic and foreign price level are constant and equal to one, which implies the domestic and which implies the domestic expected inflation is zero, and foreign inflation is also zero. So based on that, then we know okay, the real and nominal interest rate are the same, right? So based upon some of the assumptions that we made in the text that domestic and foreign price level are constant and equal to one, right? It implies that your domestic inflation and expected inflation are zero. So real and nominal interest rate are the same. And because we're assuming domestic and foreign price level are equal to one, so then that also implies that nominal exchange rate is the same as the real exchange rate. So this just follows from the assumptions that we made, right? So based upon the assumptions that we made, the real interest rate is equal to the nominal interest rate, the real exchange rate is equal to the nominal exchange rate. These are the assumptions made in the text. So like we said, when interest rate goes down, investment increases, which increases demand. In a goods market model, we know that means that the demand schedule shifts upwards and we know output increases. This channel of through which monetary policy affects output was present in the closed economy as well, where when interest rate changes, investment changes, demand changes, output changes. But now we have an additional indirect effect of the interest rate through the exchange rate on net exports. How does this second channel work? We know when interest rate goes down, through a UIP condition, we know the exchange rate goes up. Here, E represents both the nominal as well as the real exchange rate, given the assumptions that were made. From the UIP, this is the UIP written with E made as a subject. So from the UIP, we know when domestic interest rate goes down, your exchange rate goes up, and the C represents both real and nominal exchange rate in this case. And when your exchange rate goes down, assuming the Marshall-Lerner condition holds, we know net exports improve. And again, this is an assumption that we made that the Marshall-Lerner condition is satisfied. So here, and the Marshall-Lerner condition says that the real depreciation improves net exports. So basically what you're saying is there's a second channel. When interest rate is going to go down from the UIP, we know that's going to affect the exchange rate. And through this, we know net exports are going to be affected given the Marshall-Lerner condition holds. Because we know the effect of exchange rate on net exports is ambiguous, but because we're assuming the Marshall-Lerner condition holds, we know a depreciation is going to improve net exports. And when net exports increase, our demand is going to increase because net exports is also one of the components of demand. So in our goods market diagram, the demand schedule, because of this reason, would also shift upwards, and we know output is going to increase. So when we're looking at the effects of monetary policy on output, so there's the usual channel that we still have, which is the direct effect of interest rate on investment, which was present in a closed economy as well. But now we have an additional channel through exchange rates, through exchange rates and net exports, which is only present in an open economy. So in short, what we're saying is, okay, an expansion monetary policy is implemented through a decrease in domestic interest rate. That's going to increase investment. And because it's going to affect exchange rate through the UIP condition, it's going to affect net exports. And as a result of both of these, because both investment and net exports are a component of demand, that's going to cause your demand to change. And graphically, the demand schedule shifts in the goods market diagram. Obviously, if you're looking at decrease in I, increase in investment, increase in net exports, then the demand schedule will shift up in the goods market diagram. And then we know okay, that's going to cause output to change via the multiplier effect. So in general, there should be demand schedule shifts in the goods market diagram. It would be a shift up if you're looking at a decrease in I. If you're looking at an increase in I, it should shift downward. So note both effects work in the same direction, right? Both of them work in the same direction. If interest rate goes down, investment is also going to increase, net exports also going to increase, and both are going to cause demand and output to increase. If interest rate goes up, investment and net exports both will go down, which is going to cause demand to go down and hence output to go down. So both of these effects reinforce each other. So the second additional effect reinforces the first effect, right? So that is something to keep in mind. So if we compare monetary policy in a flexible exchange rate, so if we compare a closed economy with an open economy with a flexible exchange rate regime, then the distinction between them in terms of monetary policy are the different multipliers. We have already talked about this in chapter 19, that the multiplier is smaller in open economy. Not going to go into the details over here. And second, interest rate channel in open economy through the exchange rate and net exports, right? So when we're comparing monetary policy in a flexible exchange rate regime with a closed economy, so we know okay, we will have different multipliers because we know okay, eventually the effect on output is going to be through the multiplier, right? The change in output is going to via the multiplier. Like this multiplier effect is smaller in an open economy than in a closed economy. And but we know there's also a second interest rate channel through which monetary policy now affects output, which was not present in a closed economy.